Okay, so if you have an equation of a line, we know the equation of a line is y equals mx plus b, and we could use that equation to graph the line. We know that this is slope and this is y-intercept, and you could graph the line using this equation. The equation of a circle is the same thing, except for it's a circle, so the format is a little bit different. So this is the equation of the circle, and then we're going to learn how to use that to graph the actual circle or come up with the equation from the circle. So this is actually the standard form. So we're going to be working with this one first. There's also a different format which we'll get to later in the lesson. So this is standard form. Okay, so what's going on here, or how could we use this to graph a circle? This value is h, and this value is k. hk is the center. hk is the center. And notice the subtraction symbol is part of the equation, so this would be a positive h, positive k. And then this is radius squared, so in order to find the radius, we would take the square root of that. So yeah. Okay, so write the equation of a circle given the center and the radius. Here's the center, here's the radius. We're just going to plug it into the equation. Zooming out a little bit. Okay, so x with x, so x minus 8 squared plus, and the y with the y minus negative 9 squared equals 6 squared. And yes, we're going to clean this up in a second. Okay, so I just plugged in the numbers as is, but I am going to clean this up. This would be y plus 9, and then this would be 36, so I'm just going to rewrite it. And that would be the equation of that circle. Okay, so what if they give us a circle and then we're told to write the equation? Well, we could just use a circle that's drawn to find the center and the radius and then write the equation. So our center is right here. Taking the coordinates, that would be at -1, -2. Then for the radius is just the distance from the center to the outside. So from that center, you could count the units to the outside. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The radius is 5. And then for the equation, we're just plugging in the numbers. So x with x that. And then we'll rewrite it, kind of cleaning it up. X minus -1 will be x plus 1. And then this is the equation of that circle. Thank you. Oh, it's nice that they gave you a pass. It's nice that they gave you a pass. A lot of times they'll send you back without one. Okay, so far so easy. Do you guys remember this at all? No? It's definitely part of geometry. Nobody? Okay, cool. Next, give the center and the radius and graph each circle. So we're given the equation. To find the center, which would be +4, -3. Remember, the subtraction's part of the equation. And then for radius, this is r squared. So we take square root of 25, get a radius of 5. Okay, and then you just kind of sketch out a circle as best you can. Mine's not perfect, yours probably isn't either. And then at the bottom, it asks for domain and range. So domain would be your x values. So our lowest x value would be -1, and the greatest one would be at 9. And then for range, that would be your y values. The lowest one being at -8, and the highest one is at 2. Number 4 looks a little bit different. We have x minus 1, so our h right there is 1. But there's nothing with the y. So since there's nothing there, that's like +0. So our k is actually 0. So our center is at 1, 0. And then for radius, this is r squared. So we can take square root of 36 equals 6. So the radius is 6 units. Then plot the center. Count 6 units out. And then sketch out the circle as best you can. Then domain, lowest x value is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -5, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Range, next page. Okay, so number 5, it says find the center and the radius of circle with the given equation. Okay, so for this one, we don't have x plus anything or y plus anything. So our h is just going to be 0 and our k will be 0, 2. And then for radius, this is radius squared. So take the square root of 16, that's 4, so the radius is 4. So for the center, it's at 0, 0, and the radius is 4. Next. Okay, so for this one, we do have the h and k here. So our h would be +7, and our k would be -3. And then for the radius, this is radius squared. So to find the radius, we actually have to take the square root of 24. We're going to bring back some old skills and simplify this. Break it up. Pair, I take a 2 out, and then 6 will just stay inside. So for the center, 7, -3, and then radius 2, square root of 6. If you needed to sketch out or graph this one with this radius, you could plug that into a calculator and get like the decimal and try to do it that way. Okay.
When we do the test, will it just be even?
Yeah. Okay. Next. Now is where it gets a little bit more challenging. It's still simpler than what we were doing the last couple days. So I mentioned there's another format. So this is standard form. Standard form is really easy to graph from because you can just pull out the center and the radius from it. The other format is called general form. And they love to put general form on standardized tests and then ask you to graph it, which in order to graph it, you actually have to get it from general form to standard form and change the format of it so that way you can pull out the center and the radius. So that's cool. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to rearrange this so it is in this format, and there's a specific process for that. There's 3 steps. First step, so just jot these steps down. Step 1 is group the x's and y's. And I'll show you what these mean in a second, but for now, we can just try to explain it simply. Then we're going to complete the square. And add to other side. And again, I know that probably makes no sense until we actually do it. Then 3, we're just going to rearrange it and put it in standard form. Now I'm going to show you what these steps mean or how it's going to come together. Grouping the x and y's together will look like this. I don't know whether to zoom in, zoom out. Okay. Putting the x's with the x's. So x squared minus 6x plus a value. So I just put the x's together. Then I'm putting the y's together. So then y squared minus 8y plus a value equals, and then in this general form, there's a value right here. We're going to put it on the other side of the equation. So we're going to subtract 24 from both sides and just put it over here. Okay. So we need to know what values would go here. So that way we can factor it out. We're going to complete this square. There is a way to figure out what this value is, and it's this little equation. It is b over 2 squared, which we used yesterday actually. Okay, what does that mean, or what's b? Well, this would be your a term, b term, c term. Again, a, b, and c. So our b is -6. So in this case, -6 over 2 squared, -3 squared equals 9. So what do we do with that value? We put it here, and then whatever you add to one side of the equation, you have to add to the other, so I'm also adding 9 over here.
What is after the equal sign? Is that a -3?
Yes, -3 squared. So -6 divided by 2 is -3. -3 squared is 9. And then to figure out this one, same thing, b over 2 squared, -4 squared equals 16. This is 16. Whatever you add to one side of the equation, you have to add to the other. So now that we have these, we can actually factor this out. So two numbers that multiply to 9 and add to -6 would be -3 and -3. So x minus 3 times x minus 3. And then over here, two numbers that multiply to 16 and add to -8. Y minus 4. Y minus 4 equals -24 plus 25 is going to be 1. And you can probably see where we're going with this now. We have the x minus 3 squared, y minus 4 squared equals 1. And now we can pull out the center and the radius.
That's so much extra work.
I don't know. There's no other way to do it though.
No.
Okay. H equals 3, k equals 4, and then this is radius squared, so the radius is 1. So we got 3, 4 for the center, and radius is 1. Do not copy this problem down though. This one has a bunch of fractions and weird square roots, and I feel like since we just learned something, we shouldn't be bringing in all that complicated stuff yet. So we're just going to practice it one more time just like we did here, and the example we're actually going to use, so if you have these notes printed, write this down. Oh wait, ooh, don't write that down. I just wrote down the wrong thing. I wrote down the second step and not the first step. Okay. It is x squared plus y squared minus 6x minus 2y plus 5 equals 0. Okay, now we're following this step. Group the x's and the y's. And then putting the 5 over on the other side. Okay, then we have to figure out what goes in these spots. Let's see. So the whole like b over 2 squared. Negative 6 over 2 squared. Whatever you add to one side, you add to the other. Okay. Then we can make our factors. X minus 3. Minus 5 would just be 5. Then combine our factors so we can get it into standard form. So something interesting you may have noticed is essentially a version of Pythagorean theorem. Just kind of interesting. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. But yeah. Okay, so once we got this, we got h is 3, k is positive 1. Our radius is going to be square root of 5, and we'll just leave it like in that format. We don't need to turn it into a decimal. So our center is at 3, 1. And radius is square root of 5. Okay, and that is it for today.